I found something I'd never seen before. It was a baby albino African clawed frog, which looks like this. These alien-like creatures may seem unassuming, but I'd later come to find out they're actually fierce predators. Watching the translucent amphibian squirming around in that bland, lifeless tank, I couldn't help but take the little guy home. I want to give him a better environment to live in, a place where he can exhibit more natural behaviors. I bought a tank and built a custom stand for it from a broken chair, old broom handles, and a fruit crate. While I was busy making that, the frog stayed in this temporary setup, and he's pretty interesting to look at. If you look closely, you can almost see his bones through his skin. While he was in there, I ran into a big problem. The pet store gave me this food to feed him, but for some reason, he wasn't eating it. I thought maybe he was stressed from the move, or maybe he missed his siblings. I made sure he had a pellet accessible every day, but day after day, they just kept floating there, getting soggy. And day after day, the frog went without eating. That is, until I finally got fed up with the fake feed, foregoing it for a far funnier form. Earthworms. This would be the frog's first taste of real live food, but would he even eat it? Things were not looking too promising. Even with the worm wriggling around, he just didn't seem too interested. But then, his instincts kicked in. Like the fierce predator he was designed to be, he gobbled up his prey with ease. Well, okay, not so much ease. It seemed actually a bit difficult. But once he got it down, he was hooked. Now that the frog was eating well, he became more active in his temporary setup and was exhibiting his hunter instincts. And that's just a small taste of what's to come. Now it's time to make him a proper aquarium. Of course, that meant I needed to use the tank, so I had to catch the little guy to get him out of the way, which was very difficult. But once I finally got him in the jar, I could move him to another temporary spot so I could get started on his aquarium. I was a little bit nervous about the table, if it was going to hold everything, but it seemed okay so far. To begin, I put down a layer of soil, then covered that with charcoal to keep things fresh. Then it was time for the hardscape. I'm going to use these interesting tree roots as the centerpiece. They'll provide a sort of natural cover for the frog to hide under, which I'm hoping will help him to feel secure. For some reason, I really wanted to use this rock. I tried it over there, then in the back, then over here on the side. No matter what I did, I just couldn't get it to fit. I put down a layer of pebbles to see if that would help. And it did. I thought I found the right spot for the rock, but the tree roots were sitting a little too low, and after raising them, the rock no longer fit. So I decided it was just too big for this project. I'll save it for another one. As I placed more decorative stones, I made sure to add a layer of smaller pebbles, which should be more comfortable for the frog. With the hardscape finished, it was time for the best part, the plants. I rinsed off their roots thoroughly before securing them onto the hardscape. The idea is for the terrestrial plants to have their roots dangling in the water, which will help to filter it. Surprisingly, this setup didn't require a single drop of super glue or silicone. It's all just natural sticks, rocks, and plants that I gathered from my area, which should help the frog feel right at home. I'm seriously worried that the table is going to break when I start filling this thing with water. It was nerve-wracking for sure, but it was okay. There was quite a bit of haziness in the water, so I had to fill and empty it quite a few times, but once it was fairly clear, I added the aquatic plants, which I had trimmed from my goldfish tank. Now, this is a much more natural setup than what the frog was in the pet store. There it was just a layer of pebbles and one dying plant. But now that everything's looking nice, it's time to add some living creatures. First, a bunch of snails. Then it was time to add the squishy little guy. I'm really gonna need a better name for him. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. The very first thing he did was try to eat one of the snails, but without much luck. Figured he was hungry, so I gave him a worm. Unfortunately, hunting was still a bit new to him, and he let the worm get away beneath the substrate. Clearly, this frog still has a lot to learn. However, the second worm was not so fortunate. So the little guy has developed some skill in catching his own food, but would he be up for the ultimate challenge? A fish. This is something he would eat naturally in the wild, but a fish is a lot faster than a worm. So would the frog, having been raised in a sterile pet store, be able to catch something as quick as a fish? He took interest immediately. Stalking his prey like a lion hunts a gazelle, he moves in and pounces. The fish got away, but this frog wouldn't be crushed by one failure. He tried again and again and again. He just wasn't fast enough. The frog knew if he was going to catch that fish, he would need to think of a new approach. Running through various scenarios in his mind, he thought hard about how he could achieve his goal. After he gathered up his wounded pride, he went back to the hunt. His first approach, sneak attack from the shadows. His second was the I just want to be friends approach. Next, attack from the bushes. Then he tried the back kick, giving the fish a heart attack, the kiss of death, the stare of death, and various other strange and ineffective ideas. But no matter what the frog tried, he just couldn't do it. He would need to learn more about his opponent, observing it and studying its every move. That would require patience and focus. He would need to wait for the right opportunity, and in the meantime, prepare himself for that opportunity. He'll have to put in the work, growing in strength and maturity as a man. A frog. He'll need to train himself in his skills. And over time, as he puts in the effort and grows, as long as he doesn't give up, he'll eventually be able to accomplish his goal, making his dreams a reality. If you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, there's a pretty good chance you might like this video too. God bless.